Hello, I am back. I'm sorry I have not made a video in a while. Just like I said in my first video the first video I made on this channel, college really gets to you and it's a pain, but it's alright. I'm back now and I have time to make a video tonight, so why not make a video on Joe Biden announcing his presidential campaign for 2020? So, what do I think of it? Well, short answer, he's gonna lose. Okay? Now for the long answer. Why do I think he's gonna lose? Well, simple. Every time he opens his mouth, his popularity goes down, just like Hillary Clinton, because they both have bad track records, and they flip-flop all the time. Joe Biden does not have a good record in the Senate. He was a senator from Delaware from 1973 to 2009. And then, of course, he was vice president under the Barack Obama administration from 2009 to 2017. So, let me just go through his record right here. Now, yes, you see the screen, my face go white because I just, changed my screen on my laptop. Now, let me just go through the good stuff that I think he's done because I want to be objective, okay? Because while I think he is definitely a center to center-right corporate sellout, he's definitely the lesser of two evils if you put him versus Donald Trump. So, why is he the lesser of two evils? Well, the good thing is he's the one who drafted the Violence Against Women Act, and the Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA, or VAWA, or I don't know how you want me to say that, but one of my favorite things in there is it has a hotline for victims of domestic abuse to call in if they need help, which I think that's awesome. He also is rated F by the NRA. Now, that does not mean that he is, wants to take all your guns or something. He just wants, minimal regulation. I don't, yeah, simple as that. Trump's 2016 campaign was like, the NRA gave him 22-something million dollars. So, Biden's definitely better on that front. He also voted no on requiring a photo ID to vote. Now, a lot of people may hear me say that, and they're like, oh my gosh, well, you don't want to show a photo ID to vote? What about voter fraud? And my response to that is, that's the propaganda that the Republicans tell you. They say, oh, it's all about voter fraud. What do you mean? We just want people to show an ID. The thing is, the Brennan Center for Justice found that voter fraud is even more rare than getting struck by lightning. And the reason why these Republicans push the voter ID laws is to suppress the vote, because they've actually said it in interviews themselves. Like, they've said, yeah, I think this new voter ID law is going to help us win the next election. So it's a scam by the Republicans. So I actually do give credit to Joe Biden for voting no on that. And I am getting this from ontheissues.org, and I'll have a link to that below in the description. He also voted no on free trade with Chile and CAFTA, which those two, so-called free trade agreements were just, outsourcing deals that allowed big corporations to outsource American jobs that were in the Rust Belt to low-wage countries, and then have, people make their stuff there and then send them back here without a tax. So it's a loophole for companies to do that, and they make people lose jobs because the corporations, who care? They don't care. So yeah, I do give credit to Biden for voting no on those. However, he did vote yes on some other trade deals, which I'll get to those in a bit in the bad column, but getting back to the good stuff, he's also rated 95% by the League of Conservation Voters, or LCV, which is basically a pro-environmental organization, so he's definitely better on that front because Trump just says climate change isn't real. Idiot. So yeah, that's a good thing. He also voted against both of the Bush tax cuts Biden did, which the Bush tax cuts are what sped up the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession in 2008, because, it's been proven that, once you do trickle-down economics, you have boom-bust cycles. First, everything's going like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, and then bam, the whole economy crashes. It happened when Reagan was president. Like, he did trickle-down economics, and then when his successor, George H.W. Bush, came into office, there was a crash during that presidency. So it's been proven, and just you wait until the next economic crash that happens because of Trump, because of his Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and because of his partial repeal of Dodd-Frank. Even though he's like, oh, unemployment is so low, the economy's going to crash. Mark my words. Biden also is he opposes privatizing Social Security, and he's rated 89% by the ARA, which is like a senior or like a pro-senior organization. So he's definitely not going to cut Social Security. Not that I know of, according to that rating. Although maybe there because it's a 95% rating. Maybe there's a 5% chance he cuts Social Security. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if he is president. He also voted for expanding stem cell research. Okay, good. So he's pro-science. Good. He also voted for Medicare to negotiate drug prices. And that's good because Medicare right now is not currently allowed to negotiate drug prices, which is why some people can't afford their medication. So good thing there. He also voted for the last federal minimum wage increase that we got, which raised it to $7.25 an hour. And of course, while he was vice president, he supported the ARRA stimulus package, which that's one of my favorite parts about the Obama presidency. While I have many criticisms of Obama, I do give him and Biden credit for the stimulus package because it was a way to fix the economy after the subprime mortgage crisis. So great there. Now, even though those are good stuff, as I was writing the good stuff down, I was like, okay, this is good, but I don't think a lot of this is just good enough. So, and you'll see what I mean by that when I talk about the bad stuff here. And before I talk about the bad stuff, let me just make sure my light stays on. Yep, sorry about that, just because my light's automatic, I gotta make sure that stays on right there. So, getting into the bad stuff. He supports the war on drugs. Already off to a terrible start because the war on drugs disproportionately targets minorities. He also voted for NAFTA, which that is a trade deal that he voted for in 1993, and that disastrous trade deal that caused outsourcing of jobs from the Rust Belt to Mexico and other just places with low wage countries. That's what it did. Okay, it's not. I don't call it. It's not a free trade agreement. It's an outsourcing bill. It benefits the elite class. That's what happens. He also supports the death penalty. Now, I know the majority of Americans support the death penalty, but the reason I'm against it is because of two reasons. One, 4% of people on death row are innocent. So, I'm not okay with a criminal justice system that kills innocent people. I just can't accept that. And also, to me, the death penalty is more like an easy way out than a punishment, because that's why so many criminals, after they commit a crime, they kill themselves because they don't want to suffer in prison. They're just like, I'm going to take the easy way out. So, yeah, definitely oppose the death penalty there, but no, Biden supports it. Classy Biden. Classy Uncle Joe. Ooh. He also wrote the Omnibus Crime Bill, which, because of his support for the war on drugs, the Omnibus Crime Bill increased prison sentences and, basically turned, our criminal justice system into a tough-on-crime system, which I don't like that. We need to focus on, there needs to be a balance of rehabilitation and punishment, and right now we're too much on the punishment side. We need to shift it into that rehabilitation direction a bit. He also voted for the Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, which, banned gay marriage in 1996. Now, thankfully, it was declared unconstitutional in 2013. Biden voted for it, so, yeah, that's not good. He also voted for a balanced budget amendment. Now, the reason I'm against that is because if you have no debt and you just balance the budget, unemployment will go up because you have to have a debt to create jobs. You have to have a debt to create those public jobs to keep, people employed. So, definitely against that. He also voted for the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which repealed the Glass-Steagall legislation. And Bill Clinton signed that in 1999. And yes, while I do criticize George W. Bush for causing the 2008 financial crisis, I also criticize Bill Clinton because he's the one who signed the Glass-Steagall Act, which deregulated the banks. And I also, yes, I do criticize Joe Biden for voting for that. So, yeah, you could say that because of Joe Biden, he's part of the reason why the economy crashed in 2008. Classy Joe. Okay, and here's one of my least favorite things about him. He voted for the Patriot Act. Patriot Act is a law that took away our civil liberties all around. It allowed the government to warrantlessly spy on people, and it basically destroyed the Fourth Amendment. And a lot of people say, oh, well, Will, he was scared at the time because, 9/11 happened. Everyone was scared. I don't care, okay? Even while 9/11 was bad, all right? Anyone with a brain back then should have known that just because a terrible terrorist attack happened, which really was terrible, just because that happened doesn't mean we have to have our civil liberties and our rights taken away. We didn't do anything wrong. The terrorists did. We shouldn't have to suffer, okay? And the same thing, this is my other least favorite part of him, is that he voted for the Iraq War. Again, I just cannot accept that. He voted for a war, an offensive war, against a country that was not responsible for 9/11. Not responsible, okay? So, and it killed, minimum 100,000 people. Bad choice, bad choice. He also has an iffy record on abortion because while he's definitely better than, Trump on the issue, like, Joe Biden did vote no on banning people from crossing state lines to get an abortion. So he's like, no, he's like, I think it should be legal to, cross state lines to get an abortion if your state, like, bans it. So that's good. But at the same time, if you go to his page on theissues.org, it says that in 2003 he earned a 36% rating from NARAL, in which NARAL is like a pro-abortion rights group. And now his most recent rating from them is 75%, but I don't know, it's just kind of suspicious to me that he had a 36% rating back then in 2003. It's just shady to me. Okay, other things. He also supported, when he was vice president, he supported military intervention in Libya, another country that didn't attack us. We never should have gone there, because Libya was not a threat to us. He also supports the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, which is another so-called free trade deal that just, outsources jobs. Outsources middle-class, well-paying factory jobs to countries with cheaper labor, so, the big corporations can do their labor there, and then make their products there, and then bring their products back in here without, a penalty. So, bad deal right there. He also opposes Medicare for all. Now, again, we know the studies. We know Medicare for all is good because, Commonwealth Fund study from 2014 found that, all the countries with universal health care rank best in healthcare systems, and we rank dead last because we do not guarantee healthcare as a right. And we also know the study from University of Massachusetts Amherst that, Medicare for all saves $5 trillion. So, now, don't get me wrong, Joe Biden is not in the camp of, complete free market healthcare. Okay, he's not in that camp. But, he doesn't go far enough on healthcare is what my point is. And, of course, he's also skeptical on net neutrality, because if some of you don't know, one of his first, if not his actual first, fundraising events was hosted by a Comcast official, or some sort of Comcast lobbyist, or of some sort. So, he might actually even be worse than Hillary, because he's skeptical on net neutrality, and he has an iffy record on abortion. So, my prediction is this. Yeah, if he is, that's the reason, all the bad stuff that I just mentioned, that's the reason why he will lose, if he is the nominee. That's the reason why I don't think he will get the Democratic nomination. Because his stances like that are pretty unpopular. And that's the reason why Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, is because she basically did all that stuff right there, that bad stuff. She voted for the Iraq War, she supported NAFTA, she voted for the Patriot Act, she supported the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, she supported military intervention in Libya. So many bad things about Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden is basically the same as her. So, if Joe Biden is the nominee, he will get destroyed in the general election. I guarantee you that. He will lose. And even with all the criticisms I have of Joe Biden, if he is the nominee, and even though I think he will lose, I will still vote for him if he is the nominee, because I am in Virginia. I live in a swing state. And with the current electoral college system, you pretty much have to vote for one of the two because it really could go either way. Now, if I was in a deep red state or a deep blue state, and if Joe Biden was the nominee, I probably would vote for, like, some sort of third-party candidate, like maybe a Green Party candidate, or write in someone. Because it would be a safe state, because I'm in a swing state. I would have to vote for the lesser of two evils, which would be Joe Biden, because even with all the criticisms I have of Joe Biden, he's still better than Trump on climate change, on Supreme Court, on tax policy, on immigration, on guns, on abortion, even though his track record on that is kind of iffy, and on LGBT rights, because even though he voted for DOMA, he still voted no on a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, which, duh. So yeah. And now, the reason why even though, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden are the same, and even though Hillary got the nomination last time, I still don't think that Joe Biden is going to be able to get the Democratic nomination, because Hillary didn't really have much establishment competition. Like, the establishment was, like, really rallying behind her. In this race, there's so many establishment candidates, it splits the establishment vote. So I hope to goodness that Joe Biden's candidacy doesn't get far, and he only splits the establishment vote. So someone like Bernie or Tulsi or Liz can get in there and get the nomination, because I think they have a much better chance of beating Trump, because populist left ideas are very popular. Alright? And if Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee, we're in big trouble.